feel like at some point he's gonna call me a clown. That's his like go-to.
I'm like, that's me.
It's different levels. You know what I mean? It's definitely different levels when you.
Jake Paul, known for his confidence and controversy, may be feeling the heat after recent videos of a noticeably stronger Gervonta "Tank" Davis went viral. Fans believe Paul underestimated Davis's transformation, as the lightweight champ now looks closer to a welterweight, showcasing power and precision. Sources say Paul is under pressure, realizing this version of Tank could be more dangerous than expected. As the November 14th fight nears, Gervonta Davis's dramatic transformation has shocked fans and experts. The once lean lightweight now looks stronger, faster, and more dangerous. His intense face-off with Jake Paul in Miami, where he shoved Paul, only raised tensions. With Davis looking like a true powerhouse, many wonder if Paul's confidence is starting to crack. Davis's power, speed, and new physique show he's not just bulking up, he's preparing to dominate.
Who's not a professional fighter, what happens? What happens? That's what would sell it. I know the size difference is what creates the problem. The optics, the look, the reality. I mean, you got one guy who's fights at 135 pounds, and you got another guy who fights at 200. I mean, just that alone, yeah. But you also, and I'm not saying I want this or I liked it when I heard it. No, I didn't like it, to be honest, for the optics and everything else I just said. But you do have one guy who, yeah, he's smaller, but he's a top fighter, he can punch. And he's fighting a guy who's not a top pro fighter, who's bigger. What if he hits him on the chin?
The UFC bantamweight champ praised Davis's skill and fight IQ as far beyond Paul's, saying physical size means little against an unbeaten knockout artist, especially with the bout now labeled an exhibition.
I enjoy these fucking stupid spectacles. I enjoy it. I'm excited for it. The controversy, the press conference, the weigh-ins. Imagine those two stand next to each other. Yeah. Dude, Jake is a big motherfucker. It's basically like you two standing next to each other. Like if you guys stood up, it looks like that. Steiny's a little bit taller than Gervonta.
But I'm a feisty bro. It's not about the size of the dog. It's about this.
But rather than being a traditional title contest, many spectators see the fight as a crossover event or entertainment show, which feeds controversy regarding safety, fairness, and the validity of boxing's weight class structure.
Not the guy that knows how to sell a fight. Tank cannot sell a fight in his own division. Deal brothers, and they come over to boxing. Their idea from day one is we don't have the skills or the experience. What we're gonna do is we'll take on the absolute best guys, but they're gonna spot us some pounds. Tank has one job to do, that it doesn't make any difference. That boxing is a real sport. My skills versus your skill, of which I am an abundance of, and of which you have none of. Tank is telling anybody that will listen that there's a size problem. My skills and my experience in boxing boxing, I do not have to wonder who's in the bar tonight. Any bar I go to, I rule the bar. No, it turns out that you don't. Just need some big guy to corner you, apparently. Boxing has never stood its ground. Boxing has never been able to explain why Floyd needed a half hour to get rid of a guy who's never boxed before. Tank Davis has already began this. When you choose a dum-dum, don't be surprised.
Experts say most of Jake Paul's fights lack real competitive logic, often built more for show than sport. By choosing mismatched opponents in style or weight, Paul's bouts are seen more as entertainment than true boxing challenges.
Was that? This time, Jake Paul is to take on Tank Davis. Tank Davis, he was recently in the news for being arrested for a domestic violence incident involving one of his kids' mother. He was alleged to have slapped her about place. The charges were later dropped, to be fair to him. But yeah, that was when he was last in the news. What is interesting is just a couple of months ago, Tank Davis was saying openly that he'd lost his passion for boxing and that he wanted time away from the sport. There was speculation that he might even retire as he was experiencing extreme mental fatigue from boxing, depression, and there were mental health concerns over him. However, I guess the opportunity to earn a truck full of money, fighting a completely worthless exhibition fight against Jake Paul was enough to make him change his mind about boxing. Funny that, isn't it? But you know what? I'm not even going to waste your time or mine critiquing this utter nonsense. Suffice to say that this so-called fight we're talking about is an exhibition, and it pits Jake Paul, who is a cruiserweight, by the way, weighs in excess of 200 pounds. And Tank Davis, who is, he was the WBA lightweight champion, who weighs in at about 135 pounds when he fights. So that's a disparity of some 65 pounds. In old money, that's about 4.5 stone. There's also a significant difference in height. Jake Paul is roughly, 6'1", 2. Gervonta Davis is 5'5" at best.
133.5 lbs, and Paul, 199.5 lbs, fight in Miami after safety concerns. Despite the weight gap Davis is closing in, but Paul's size advantage still matters in this rare skill versus size matchup.
Those little teeny-weeny dudes. So that's going to be very fun and interesting to watch how that goes down. Now, on the other side, what Jake Paul's going to do. He don't have no consciousness. He doesn't have conscience about what he's trying to do. He's going to go in there try to hurt a 60-year-old Mike Tyson. He don't care. He wanted to Nate. He's way bigger than Nate Jones when he fought Nate Jones. You think he didn't care about hitting Nate Jones upside the head? He's definitely going to be looking to try to get as much as he can get off on Gervonta Davis, and I see him trying to run up on him, trying to maul him, trying to grab him, trying to club him, trying to do all kind of craziness, man. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting thing to watch. Now, let me tell you what I really hope, and I haven't seen for this particular card, but I know that I know it's going to be good, which is the undercard. The undercard for the Canelo Alvarez fight and Terrence Crawford fight is absolutely horrendous. There's nothing on the thing that would make you want to watch to tune into that thing 2 seconds before the fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford takes place. There's nothing on that card. So this fight for Gervonta or this exhibition for Gervonta and
Ryan Garcia called the Davis-Paul fight unfair due to size difference, but said fans will accept it because of the hype and money.
That's a fucking disgrace of a fight.
Yeah.
You know it. Just like the Mike Tyson, low-key was a disgrace, but we accepted it. But
Yeah.
he was 60 years old. The casuals don't see the weight difference. They see Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis. And if Gervonta Davis doesn't fuck up Jake Paul, they're going to think Jake Paul is some pound-for-pound champion type of fighter.
Yeah.
Gervonta Davis, he's actually really small. Like, when I fought him, he's small.
Yeah.
So I just think it's a very...
Carl Froch called the situation a farce, saying Jake Paul almost had a deal to fight Anthony Joshua, but chose to face the much smaller Davis instead, prioritizing shock value over real competition.
Davis is now fighting Jake Paul. So Jake Paul was supposed to be fighting AJ. Eddie Hearn announced 99% done, which we've just spoke about. What next for AJ? Potentially Jake Paul. But it now looks like that Jake Paul is fighting one of Anthony Joshua's legs. He's fighting Gervonta Davis, somebody who's a quarter of his size. I don't even know what's going on. Has Eddie Hearn been played? Let me know what you think, but The AJ fight with Jake Paul's finished. Gervonta Davis, fake Paul, November. I don't know what's going on in the world of boxing. This is an absolute joke. What next for AJ? We'll get into this, and there's so many questions I want to get into in the next episode, but I hope you enjoyed this one. And yeah, I just thought I'd give you a quick update because the news has just come in, and I'm just trying to relax and play a bit of golf, and I can't. I've got to get it off my chest. I'm going to add it to this video. Hope you enjoy it. Don't forget, if you haven't already, hit like, share, and subscribe to the best channel in the business.
3-division undisputed champ. Terence Crawford views the Paul vs. Davis fight with skepticism, seeing it more as styled sparring due to the size gap. While he respects Davis's skill, Crawford worries Paul's size and reach advantage could quickly shift momentum if he lands a clean shot.
Paul versus Tank Davis, they just announced the fight. What's your instant reaction to that?
I don't know what's going to happen with a 135-pounder going up against a 200-pounder. I think it's not a real fight. Jake just too big. Tank ain't gonna be able to get in for that jab. Jake land one good punch on Tank.
Jake Paul is changing boxing by turning gimmicks into big events, attracting new fans and shaking up the sport despite criticism.
But again, if it makes dollars, it makes sense, and we've seen that Jake will kind of bounce in between doing these entertainment fights and then, you know, trying to push toward his goal of you know, ingraining himself in the sport of boxing, and kind of does both of them. So it's kind of a weird place to be because he wants the respect of the boxing fans and the boxing hierarchy and hardcore boxing people, but at the same time, he'll gain some of that and then lose some of it. It's like a seesaw of his fights. Like one fight, and be like, okay, that's a real fight, or that's a real fighter. And he'll go and he'll win the fight. You know, Julio Cesar Chavez, real fighter, maybe past his prime, whatever, but Jake goes and wins that fight pretty easily, and then gets a lot of respect, gets a lot of the boxing hardcore love. And you have these talks about him fighting Anthony Joshua, and that was going to get even more respect. More people were like, that's fucking crazy. What are you doing? Myself included. That seemed like a massive risk, but a lot of people were like, okay, fair play. Anthony Joshua, that's a real heavyweight. Jake wants to fight him. He's a psycho, but fair play. And then you announce this one, and it's like, well, that's the same thing people have been saying about Jake for years, so it's a weird spot to be in for him for sure. But I talked about this not being the first choice, and I don't think it was, because Coppinger reports next that talks for Jake Paul to face Anthony Joshua collapsed over network issues. Now, we had all heard the talks, and they were pretty public, from Eddie Hearn, from Jake. Nikki Sabidarian, Jake's manager, was over in the UK on, I think, Sky Sports, talking about the fight and saying how it was a real possibility and they were really starting to work.
Wade Plem and other experts believe Jake Paul has revitalized boxing by attracting younger fans who prefer entertainment over tradition. Vargas Jr. agrees, saying the fight's unpredictability and shock factor bring the novelty that keeps fans interested, making the matchup worth discussing despite controversy.
So I think that Misfits brings a different element. Obviously, there's chaos and all of these things, and it's not the most buttoned up and it's not the most high level, but there are moments where you have some really competitive fights. And even with the Jake and Gervonta thing, it's like, is it the best thing for boxing? That's boxing's fault, right? Like, if you're gonna complain about it, point the finger the other way, because everybody else did it. You guys put yourselves in this position where these kind of fights are more interesting than some of your world title fights, and that's really, really sad, I know, but that's where we're at. And is it Jake's fault for being like, yeah, this is what people want to see, I'm gonna do it? Is it Gervonta Davis's fault? Maybe a little bit, because he's a world champion. Yeah. Give up your belt. To me, it should be give your belt up, right? You're saying to the world, you don't want to fight Shakur Stevenson, you don't want to fight Lamont Roach, so give the belt up. That's fine. Go do that. Okay. Say you're done at the highest level. Say you have no interest in being a world champion, and I'm okay with it. Yeah. But outside of that, man, I mean, it's a money fight and it's an exhibition. Everybody, I think, kind of knows what that brings in. So, yeah, I don't really have a problem with it. But at the same time, boxing needs to get its stuff together.
BJ Flores sees the Davis fight as a smart move for Jake Paul, suited for his size and growth. Facing a top opponent like Davis boosts Paul's credibility and opens doors to bigger, tougher fights in higher weight classes. For Flores, this bout is just the first step in Paul's boxing journey.
Funny story. So one of my good friends, Armani, he has been working with Jake Paul for the last 2 years. Oh. There was a little time where Shane wasn't there with Jake, and Armani called me up and said, "Hey, BJ, will you come down to Big Bear and spar with Jake?" And I'm like, "You want me to spar with Jake?" I'm thinking to myself, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's beating up all his sparring partners. We come, I was like, all right. I mean, fine, I'll go down there and do it. I have been inactive. I haven't done anything for like 8 months. But I was like, okay, I'll go down there. So we spar a couple times. After that, they decided I was too big for him. And, it's better if we just, not do it. And, you know, then they asked me if I would be interested in like working the mitts with him and helping him with the combinations, because I was hitting him with some, you know, some combinations they hadn't seen before. And I said, we can teach him all those things and have him doing all those things. And so I started working the mitts with him and helping him out on the mitts. And he told his trainers and everybody, they're like, man, I want BJ around for the entire camp because I'm getting better. My job is, like Shane does the advice.
Jake Paul responded to doubts about the Davis fight with a flashy prank, smashing a tank-shaped cake to mock his opponent and take control of the narrative. Though childish, the stunt fueled hype and showed he's willing to create drama to stay in the spotlight.